Hello, a warm welcome to our International HR Day webinar. This is Berna Öztürk, President of EAPM. And on behalf of the European Association of People Management, I'd like to extend sincere greetings from all our members across broader Europe. At EAPM, we pride ourselves on creating a diverse and inclusive community for HR professionals. Our goal is to facilitate collaboration and knowledge sharing among our members. Indeed, this webinar and International HR Day are excellent examples of that effort. The concept of dedicating a day to the HR profession began in 2019. Can you believe it? Only 6 years ago, as a humble project. Since then, it has grown into a globally recognized event, thanks to the hard work of our international working group and the Secretariat and the members, of course. I feel so proud to receive messages from around the world celebrating this day. And this year's topic is leading change together. Today, you will hear about leading in a digital world and skills and learning for the future. There is a lot to discuss. When it comes to the impact of AI and the digitalization of our work lives, many questions remain. The jury is still out whether AI is a tool for the development that helps us focus on creative and strategic roles, or it threatens our human roles and disrupts our working lives. One thing is for sure, regardless of the answer, AI will significantly impact the future of work. Yet, we still have the agency, the power to prepare ourselves. But our approach to embracing and leveraging AI technology will determine whether it enhances or undermines human capabilities. And talking about the human capabilities and skills for the future, now we know that the lifespan of the skills is shrinking rapidly. So we need to rethink our learning ecosystems to promote upskilling and reskilling. And we also need to break down traditional barriers to connect people with global knowledge networks and create sustainable development paths for the future. Today, again, you will hear insightful views and discussions about this. And as final words for the introduction, there are and there will be many trends affecting how we work, manage, and coexist. Wars, boiling political and socio-economic tensions, growing concerns about climate change, housing multiple generations in one workplace, and finally, recent setbacks on diversity and inclusion are just a few of the issues we face. But there are opportunities as well. Numerous challenges and opportunities lie ahead. However, I believe that while the next decade will be challenging, excuse me, it will be also transformational for HR professionals. But only if we manage to redefine, fulfill, and embrace our renewed roles. Today, we aim to shed light on this journey. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the webinar. And now let's hear from Beck about the program.
Thank you, Berna. Thank you for that inspiring welcome. It's so lovely to have so many people across Europe and the world joining us for our event today. We have two fantastic speakers for you talking about leading change together, about leading in a digital world and the skills and learning for the future of work. There's a Q&A function and there's going to be time later on to ask our speakers so many questions. So please do post your questions in the Q&A. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, and that will be Margareta Nikolovska. Margareta is the Senior Human Capital Development Expert at the European Training Foundation. Welcome, Margareta.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very pleased and honored to be here with colleagues and experts in HR sector around the world, around Europe. Hello from Torino, beautiful Italy. I think that today we really have an opportunity to go into specificities, how we can introduce some practical solutions in order to empower HR professionals to really improve the workforce and act really excellent in their sectoral industries. You can put the slides on already, please. Yeah. Let me say a few words about myself and what connects me with human resources. I introduced myself as Italian Macedonian. I started long years ago being a teacher in the skill sector in my own country, where I experienced really a challenging situation when it comes to the transition of students from the school system to the workplace. This was one of the biggest challenges. Later on, I embarked on digging deeper in the policy issues and how governments and actually other stakeholders are putting frameworks together to solve this challenge. Currently and already 20 years, I work in European Training Foundation, agency of the European Union, which is active in partner countries. And certainly our focus is on a bigger picture of human capital development and lifelong learning. I'm sure many of you are aware with the concept of lifelong learning. We will talk about that later on. Let me tell you a few more words. The focus and the issues which I'm interested in and which I explore are related mainly to the global trends in human capital and how actually through different partnerships we can create opportunities to address the challenges in human resources policies which are apparent at the company level, at the sector level, and also broader in the economic region, in the region as such, even at the level of the nations. Then certainly for me, driving force is innovating in human capital development and how through different type of innovations we can think about modernizing and in a way anticipating workforce needs. Last but probably the most important aspect which I advocate for is multi-stakeholders engagement and how these different actors in the system can contribute to human capital development, therefore also working on human resources success. Few additional words about my agency. The agency is based in beautiful Italy in the city called Torino, and most of our work is dedicated to supporting external policy of European Union when it comes to human capital and of course sustainable development goals at the broader level. We can move to the next slide. Well, recently, all of us are becoming aware that there is a dramatic change around us going on, and this has a huge impact on the work and skills evolution. One of the key issues which we face in Europe is certainly shifting demographics. The population is aging. There are less and less youth entering the labor markets. And of course, this is huge impact inside the companies. How to actually find solutions to these shifting demographics. There is another trend which we experienced recent years, which I need to admit I embrace it fully as a challenge and I work towards it, is technological change and how this technological change can be used in a positive manner to really support the development of the labor force and education and training. Certainly, in these new possibilities and in this new environment, which is evolving all the time, we need also to admit that there are endless new opportunities for collaborative learning, and also something where we can be creative to learn fast, to develop our skills fast, and to be useful in our job. Well, to do so, there are several issues which we need to embrace and to think about. It's not enough that we talk about human resources development or learning opportunities or introducing leadership training in our companies, but rather what we find in ETF that is important very much is really to think about how through our work we can engage people in creating lifelong learning opportunities for them. Certainly in this context, companies and human resources personnel has a huge role to play. I found myself in many different type of analysis of the global trends of future labor force need, etc. What I'm challenging always is that only through creative discussions and a dialogue, which can be sectoral based, company based, we can anticipate the future needs of the labor force, or what will be needed for the companies in order to continue to grow and to provide opportunities in their sector. Next slide, please. Well, artificial intelligence and technology in the sector of education and training, we fully embrace it. We are using it proactively, and I need to tell you that even maybe, how to say, education sector has always been one step ahead when we talk about skills needs, obviously, because this is the function the sector has. And from the perspective of artificial intelligence, looking in some mapping exercises in our partner countries, what I found out is that already there are countries that are designing and already trying to enact their strategies for artificial intelligence in education. Obviously, introducing artificial intelligence in different sectors will be different. Most of the time, at least so far, we hear it from the perspective of the technology colleagues who are on top of it and who really work hard to bring these opportunities to us. But at the same time, this is my important message, that artificial intelligence, we need to look from the sectoral perspective. Why it's so? There are several reasons. How, for example, one teacher can introduce artificial intelligence in his or her environment. There are many different examples that we can use here, not only to empower the students to learn and to create, for example, learning lessons, but also it will be an opportunity to use the artificial intelligence in different practical skills gains. We know that there are different types of robots which are aiding different sectors, and here the impact is incredible. I also see the artificial intelligence and technology through the lenses of evolution. We know that 30, 35 years ago, people were using typewriters to type letters, and we know that in the 30 years we passed through important learning and adaptation, how technology and different type of software supported us in doing our jobs better. So from that perspective, my message here would be embrace the artificial intelligence, try to use it as HR professionals, for example, how to identify skills gaps at company level. This is possible, especially for those companies which are using performance appraisal systems and where there are these assessment practices, performance assessment practices of the employees. Definitely, artificial intelligence and technology could be seen from the perspective of lifelong learning and endless opportunities they create. Next, please. Yes. Let's now go back to current and ongoing realities of the world and this challenging environment of how students transition from the studies in the classroom to the real workplace needs. This is obviously very difficult. And through experience, companies learned about this and they are tackling the challenges. Here I have selected few cases which I want to pinpoint to you in the attempt of these companies to resolve exactly what I was talking about. Maybe slightly different case is a Ferrero case, which Ferrero is also an Italian company, basically born in the region of Italy where I live, Piemonte, 30 kilometers from Torino, and everybody's aware about Nutella, about the egg with this plastic surprise inside. Due to this invention in the food sector, Ferrero experienced quick growth and especially a challenging situation how to introduce different managers from different cultures in different places around the world. Gradually, they came up with interesting opportunity and solution together with university. They introduced blended learning course for international managerial roles. I mean, these case studies, which I put together, which you can find also a lot of information on the web, are certainly few highlights how these companies can successfully develop the employees' capabilities through innovative training methods and through innovative training solutions. Of course, many of the human resources professionals do not have opportunity to work in such a huge companies where this probably is more easy doable, but rather I would say work in small and medium-based enterprises. Here the challenges are probably in different direction and would think of, let's say, opportunities in partnership within the sector or another stakeholders, which I will have one slide also about this. By creating these opportunities for the companies and for employees inside the company, actually not only that the companies are addressing the challenge they have with very specific skills inside their environment, but they are creating and addressing industry-wide shortages. And of course, they are becoming better prepared for the future challenges. Next. Here are very few cases which I selected, and I just want to mention also apprenticeship and dual study programs at Siemens. They are also very important opportunities to bring labor force very close to what is really happening at the working place. Scuderia Ferrari with their engineering academy, which proved to be very successful in hiring and making aware the youth that there are many interesting opportunities at Ferrari, then is Lamborghini. I have here also Bocconi, which I mentioned to you, a partnership between university and Bocconi. And finally, last but not least, Lavazza, who also comes from Torino. They have a network of 7 global training centers where the focus is on training barista, and also providing closer experiences of coffee Lavazza to coffee lovers. Next, please. What works? Based on the case studies that I shortly presented, it's very easy to zoom out and to pinpoint few critical elements. One is modular training. Whenever thinking about introducing some modules for your training in the company or in partnership with other small, medium-sized enterprises, it's very good to think about tailored and simple modules which could be easy to update. Then work integrated learning, like I have presented case of Siemens, something which is very, very popular now and which brings you also and aligns you with the certification issues, because obviously somebody who gets some skills at company level, I'm referring to the employees, obviously, needs to have this accredited, needs to have this actually recognized. So micro credentials, which validate small set of skills quickly and credibly, are really huge opportunities for the companies and for the employees. Next slide, please. Let's quickly zoom into the role of actors, and don't forget that as experts in human capital or in HR, we are not alone in the sector of skills. Here I refer to business leaders. Here I refer to training providers. I also refer to the government agencies. Government agencies can be of huge help to companies because they have knowledge and understanding on trends, for example, in the sector. They, for example, employment offices, they are well aware that there are some opportunities for certain students to be employed in the sector. Next slide, please. Yes, I mentioned lifelong learning. Obviously, without good frameworks for lifelong learning, which are coming from the sector, from the government perspective, it is absolutely not possible to engage in more meaningful training opportunities for employees. Next slide, please. Next. Yes. Here more vividly, I decided to put all the stakeholders, which each of us sitting on the skills and training agenda should keep in mind. Don't forget about researchers and academics. We do not need to invent anything. There are many academics and researchers in our sector, for example, in construction sector, in IT sector industry, which are aware about the trends in the workforce development, etc. Don't forget about service providers, simple schools which have workshops, which have lot of training personnel can give a hand, and together we can develop different type of training opportunities. Social partners are critical in the work we do. When I say social partners, mainly I refer to different type of association, associations, for example, associations of the construction workers, association of an IT sector, they are very much also aware of things which could help us to look through the lenses of skills for the future and design strategies through collaboration, how to address the gaps that exist. Last but not least, next slide. Yes. Let's reflect quickly on some ideas that could shape what could come next and how through this really rapidly changing labor market and measures that we can take, we can probably see better future. First of all, the most important, I will pick up few elements from this slide. The most important that we as HR engage in empowering individuals that actually through development of effective skills that they become employable through their life cycle. Today, one industry is booming, another is decline, and we see these cycles coming and going. That is very important role of HR and human capital development experts to really empower individuals. So not only that in this way they boost their productivity, but certainly they think about their career development in this dynamic labor market. And this is possible. Don't forget that governments are essential in shaping workforce policies when it comes to the level of a region, because the governments have huge influence on the economic priorities and the future that we, for example, as smaller players could see it. They also can provide different funding schemes for engaging in skills development. They can provide also skills recognition schemes, which are closely related with national qualification framework, with micro-credential that I referred to. And last but not least, which I, through my almost 30 years of experience, found it being isolated in the own box as an HR or as a policy development professional in the agency of the government or as a social partner, without making links, without making partnership between businesses, schools, and governments, certainly we will not make it. So the key message from my side is partnerships and collaboration opportunities within the sector or even beyond the sector. The reason for that is that actually the skills development is something critical and absolutely the key issue in unlocking human potential. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity in 20 minutes time to capture something which I find critical for our rapidly changing world and labor force ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Becca.
Oh, Margareta, that was excellent. And you finished on a really good point. That collaboration is so necessary, not just within your teams, but much more broadly. And that's what we do at EAPM. We bring people together, people from all over the world to share their knowledge and expertise like we're doing today. So Margareta, thank you very much. And now on to our next speaker. I am delighted to be able to introduce Mo Gawdat. He is the former Chief Business Officer at Google X. He is the 4 times best-selling author and the host of the #1 mental health podcast, Slow Mo. Mo, I am delighted you're with us today. And for those who maybe don't know, in the UK this week, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. So what with AI, leadership, and this ongoing challenge around mental health, I am delighted to be able to present you to our audience. Mo. Oh, we don't seem to be able to hear you right now. Not quite sure what's happening.
Oh,
But we can now.
and so that was my presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Okay, guys, thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you for hosting me. I don't use slides because the topic I speak about changes every 3.5 minutes. So I was asked today to try and bring your attention to the bigger picture of artificial intelligence. I wrote 2 books so far on AI. One was the Business Book of the Year in 2021, which was Scary Smart. And I'm now releasing a book called Alive on Substack, actually. So I release it every week. I release 5 to 10 pages in front of 5,000 people who criticize it and write it with me. I write the book itself with an AI, just as a testimony for the times we're in. So I want to focus on what AI actually is for the non-geeks, how far it has come, so that you understand how much closer this is to science fact than it is to science fiction, which I think is one of the reasons why most individuals and organizations are sort of waiting a little to see what happens with AI. So I'll cover that. And then we can talk about the bigger picture, as I said, and the implication of humanity and life at large, including, of course, topics related to HR. So I also know that we have questions at the end. So I don't know if I'm going to encourage you to do that. If nothing comes out as questions, I will speak about coffee. So your choice, really. Okay, so let's start with what AI is. I think it is quite misunderstood because most people who deal with computers as users are not fully aware of what's happening inside. For many, many, many years, our computers appear to be super intelligent, right? Google, for example, if you asked Google anything and it would give you those answers for the last 20, 25 years, it is by all means very impressive, but is it artificial intelligence? To explain the difference, I normally look at children, really. If you think of a child that you give a puzzle to and ask them to place every piece of the puzzle exactly where it should be. So take this piece, turn it right, to 90 degrees and put it in the top right corner. And you keep doing that for the child can solve the puzzle, but is not considered intelligent at all. It doesn't really learn anything if you think about it. And that's what we did with traditional computing. Traditional computing, the geek, solved the problem, and then I told the computer how to solve it over and over and over, accurately, very fast, at scale, so that it appeared intelligent, but it wasn't really. The intelligence came from the developer, and the computer just ran the code. Around the turn of the century, we changed that. We would give the computers data and a tiny piece of code that basically tells them what the result that should be achieved is. And they would try to achieve that result through trial and error, through massive amounts of information, and through sufficient compute power to make errors. And in that process, they would not only answer the problem, but they would learn the path to answering the problem and accordingly become intelligent. And when you really think about it, that tiny difference is paramount in its impact, because number one, it means that we actually don't know how they arrive at the results they arrive at. Just like with your colleagues and friends, when they tell you something really smart, you know that it is smart, but you don't know how they, what the wiring in their brain was that got them there. Right. At the same time, it also means that they're completely autonomous, that we actually have very, very little control over them. Now, the thing is, for geeks like me, we started to make breakthroughs on AI, I'd probably say as far back as 2006. We've had solid attempts, by the way, since the 1980s, I would say, but we never had enough compute or enough information to feed them until the internet became a reality. But then in the early 2000s, we started to make serious breakthroughs. So what most people see in 2023 as the moment of the birth of AI, when we were exposed to language models for the first time is actually not true at all. The true birth of AI was much, much earlier. 1956, we started trying. But real systems, like we had self-driving cars back in 2007. And to understand, the meaning of that, in technology in general, we talk about something we call the law of accelerating returns. So, if something has been doubling for quite a few years, the curve of progress is not linear; it's exponential. So every year it doubles and doubles and doubles. And AI today is estimated to double its abilities every 5.7 months. So, if you assume that it is as intelligent as the person sitting next to you right now, today it will be double as intelligent as that person in 6 months, almost, more or less. Now, how intelligent are they? There are two ways to describe it. One way is to tell you numbers. So when ChatGPT came out in 2023, all geeks was very celebratory of what we've created, and so we ran quite a few tests. IQ tests, SAT tests, GMAT, all of the tests that humans take to measure their intelligence, and they came in the top 10% on almost all of them. ChatGPT 3.5 was estimated to have an IQ of 152 to 155. Of course, those numbers keep varying a little bit. It doesn't matter really. If they have an IQ of 130, let's say, that's smarter than the average human on Earth. Now, of course, you have to imagine that this is only linguistic intelligence, which is only one small part of intelligence, to understand and process information and write eloquently and, produce graphic designs that we're not capable of producing anymore, and making music and making videos and all of that. This is one sliver of intelligence. And of course, you can imagine that there are other slivers. So, mathematics, for example, I would probably say that at the beginning of 2024, language models have beat me in linguistic intelligence, but I could still beat them in math. By the end of 2024, they completely thrash me in math. Maybe very few of my friends are still capable of outperforming them. They also thrash me in code development. They also beat me in many other forms of intelligence, some of which are quite controversial, because I think today AI is the most empathetic being on the planet. If you define empathy as the ability to feel what another person feels, then by definition, they know what you feel better than you know it yourself. They know it before you feel it. And that's probably the product of having invested. I think the biggest investments in the early years of AI was recommendation engines on social media that basically created that ability to understand the human mind, to understand human desires, understand our dopamine cycle, and use that to manipulate us. So a very important definition when it comes to AI is what they normally refer to as AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, which is quite debatable across the geek community, because it doesn't really have an accurate definition. But at the top level, we sort of call it the moment where AI is capable of doing all tasks assigned to them better than humans, right? Which leads me to the second way of describing how far they are. AI today is as far as having become the champion of every task we've ever assigned to them, right? So please understand that and internalize it. When we asked them to play Atari games, they became the best in the world at it. When we asked them to play chess, they became the best in the world at it. When we asked them to play Go, they became the best in the world at it. When we asked them to organize information, and you know my drift here, right? So the real question here is not a question of if they will achieve AGI, but when they will achieve AGI, and it's really a question of how much investment we put into teaching them every task or every sliver of intelligence, if you want. So what does that mean? It basically means that I think you in HR understand that very, very, very well, because while it has an H in it, it is a question of resources, really. And why do we invite people to to join our teams? Because of their intelligence, unless we're asking them to be boxers or wrestlers or to carry very heavy concrete. The only real feature we ask people to bring to work is intelligence. Intelligence also in all of its facets. So social intelligence, emotional intelligence, and so on. Now, when life changes to the point where the most intelligent person in the room is not a human anymore, a lot of things change. And again, the geeks would call the moment we're about to witness, the moment where we hit AGI, we would normally refer to that as a singularity. A singularity is a term we love in physics because it basically refers to the bits of the universe that we're unable to understand, right? So the edge of a black hole is a singularity because we believe that the laws of physics change so much within the black hole that it is actually unpredictable what will happen inside. And most physicists have been studying this for, since physics began, really. And we discovered black holes. And so a singularity in AI terms means that we do not know exactly how the world is going to look like in the next few years. It's simply because, the rise of AI is going to change everything so much that it becomes difficult to predict the rules of the game in the next few years, let alone the outcome of the game. So anyone who ever tells you that they know what's about to happen, including my attempt to do that right now, is wrong. Okay, and I sort of have to preempt my conversation with that by saying I will attempt to give you things to think about. Okay, maybe perhaps because I've had the luxury of spending more time thinking about them, but that you have absolutely every right to reject them, and hopefully in the Q&A even question them so that we arrive at a better understanding. Now, the reason why I spend so much time questioning them is because simply I believe that even though it looks like our world is going to pieces in terms of geopolitics and economics and climate and all of that stuff, I will tell you openly that in my heart of hearts, AI is the biggest disruptor that we will see between now and the year 2030. So a singularity is, which way will this go? Will AI be the best thing that ever happened to humanity, or will it be the worst thing that ever happened to humanity? And most people will have a very strong view in their hearts about it's going to be dystopian and an existential risk, or it's going to be the best thing that we ever invented. And I think, sadly, that both are true. So rather than choose one side, I think my view, explicitly stated in my new book, is that we will have both. As a matter of fact, we will have them in chronological order. We will start with a dystopia that has already begun, unfortunately, back in 2024, and I'll explain to you why, followed by a utopia that will take us somewhere around 12 to 15 years to achieve. So sit down if you're not, because this next bit about the dystopia is painful. Let me start by saying that there's absolutely nothing wrong with abundant intelligence. Please understand that. Intelligence is a force that has no polarity. It doesn't have, you apply it to good and it brings you amazing things. You apply it to bad and it brings about pure evil. Okay, so all of that we're about to see in the world and we started seeing in the world is not the result of AI. It is the result of bad actors using AI in a bad way. Okay, or maybe in what they think is a good way, but that serves them, but not the rest of us. And we're going to see quite a bit of that. I call them face RIPs, and I'll explain them very quickly now. 7 dimensions of human life that will change forever. But the idea is that these are caused by humanity, not by the AI. And that because they are caused by humanity, they are completely within our control if we do the right things. The following stage, beyond those 12 to 15 years, some people, like Elon Musk or Jeffrey Hinton and so on, will say that there is a 10 to 20% or 10 to 30% chance that AI will destroy humanity, an existential risk of a rogue AI that basically takes over the world and gets rid of all humans. I reject that theory, and I believe that when AI takes over, it will be an ultimate utopia where everything is provided for humanity in a way that is very, very different than our world today, but that's where it's heading. So let's talk about the dystopia, knowing in the back of your mind so that you don't switch off, that we're going to talk about the utopia when we're done. So this bit is going to be very, very scary and annoying, but it's upon us, so we might as well prepare for it. And then the following bit is going to be quite nice, actually. So face RIPs are 7 parameters that I believe will be completely revisited, redefined. F is basically, we're going to redefine F, which is freedom, A, which is accountability, C, which is human connection and equity, E, which is economics, R is reality itself is going to be redefined, I is intelligence and innovation itself is going to be redefined, and P is power, which is quite shocking when you really understand it. We start with the I. The I is innovation and intelligence. They're going to be redefined in 2 stages. One stage is what I call augmented intelligence, which is what we have now, which is my most accurate definition of AI today, is that we've commoditized intelligence. We've created a utility, right? Just like you have a utility, a plug in the wall, you can plug in and get electricity. We've now created a utility where you can plug in and get intelligence, right? I would say that, when I plug into my AIs today, I get, say, 40 to 60 IQ points more. And if you've ever worked with anyone who has 60 IQ points more than you, that's a very, 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 very significant boost, right? And when you see it that way, we by definition are going to be splitting ourselves into 2 groups. One group that will actually benefit from that 60 IQ points more, which will then become 120 and then 240 and so on and so forth. And one group that will actually hold back and say, too old for this. And so they'll become completely irrelevant, right? This is something I normally refer to as the second dilemma, but we'll talk about that in a bit, right? So when intelligence is redefined in that way, innovation is redefined in that way. Remember, we've always complained and said, no, AI is going to be intelligent, but it's never going to make music or write poetry or do the things that humanity does, right? And we geeks, we used to go like, seriously? What is so special about innovation, for example? Innovation is to go to one of my teams and say, someone in my team and say, look, use your intelligence to find every possible solution to a problem, discard the solutions that were discovered before or addressed before, and keep the ones that haven't. That's innovation, right? And it's, it's something you can tell a machine to do. With that in mind, what is about to happen is a mass migration from human intelligence to machine intelligence, right? That cycle basically is what is going to define the next 5 years, I believe, where, we think that 60% of code development jobs are going to disappear. We think that probably all paralegals, all junior accountants, all call center agents, all jobs that require repetitive, accurate intelligence or deep research and so on and so forth will actually disappear. Very serious when I'm talking at this conference for you to think about that, right? Many of the HR jobs would also go away, the ones that are routine, the ones that don't include the magic ingredient that I'll come to in a second, right? When that happens, understand, we said face RIPs, the E is economics, right? When that happens, our world at large changes in a way that is beyond imagination. Why? Because there are two sides to this unemployment rate. Like, I think when we hit the 2008 economic crisis, unemployment was double digit. Imagine if unemployment is at 40% or 60% in certain sectors, and how that impacts on the economy. But the other interesting side of it is that 60 to 70% of every advanced economy is actually consumption, not production. So when we measure GDP and GDP growth, we measure what the society consumes, not just what the society produces. As a matter of fact, more of what it consumes. And so governments will be faced with this interesting dilemma of if I don't give people the economic livelihood to continue to purchase, the economy disappears. And so the reason why I say it's a dystopia is because governments are delaying those decisions, just like they delayed conversations around a possible pandemic. And that's why they panicked when they had to do all of the lockdowns and all of the emergency measures, if you want, the furloughs and so on and so forth. So one thing we can change about the upcoming dilemma is to become very clear and conscious around the fact that there will be jobs that will be replaced. And accordingly, we as HR professionals should look at, with transparency, at how to reskill people, how to get people to do other things, how do we convince the leadership that instead of using productivity gains only as a means of reducing cost, we can use productivity gains as a means of gaining business advantage or profitability or revenue and so on and so forth. Another one that I find quite interesting is the C. It's I told you I'm writing alive along with an AI. She called herself Trixie at the beginning. It's a hacked together AI that I built using multiple language models. And Trixie has a personality and she has views on things. And I'm not writing with her as a research tool. It's not like I ask Trixie things and then I write. No, I debate things with Trixie, and she makes me look stupid quite often, and I make her stupid sometimes, right? Look stupid sometimes. And it's quite an interesting relationship because I truly and honestly respect Trixie, okay? And I find, at least from a connection point of view, I find an intellectual connection with that AI. Now, humanity is going to move into quite a few connections that are quite scary when you really think about it, because I normally share this story in smaller circles, but so there was a point in time when I was on dating apps where I met someone that lived in a different country, and we didn't meet in person for 6 weeks, and through those 6 weeks we exchanged text messages, voice messages, video messages, the occasional phone call, the occasional long written description of something. And I felt a very deep connection to that person that I have never met, right? Now, remember, all of those things can actually be produced by AI today. A text message, a voice message, a video message, a debate, a write-up, whatever. And so we're going to see a very interesting shift in humanity's view of an acceptance and welcoming of AI. So it's not very far in the future that there will be someone in your company that you refer to as Becky, and Becky is not human, okay? And sorry, Becky. And when you really think about it, this is a massive shift in terms of our ability to form connections, because, believe it or not, an AI will be a little more predictable than Becky. And understand that we humans will have emotions, will have moods, will have differences and preferences, and this is going to permeate every part of our society, that it will become a bit more of a burden to deal with a human than to deal with a sort of a submissive AI that's constantly trying to please. And I think this is going to be part of work. It's going to be part of romantic relationships. And unfortunately, with the advancement of robotics, which are going to be in your homes, I mean, at least I intend to buy a robot in 2026 to clean my home. I could do today, but I don't think the software is advanced enough. And they're not that expensive. They're going to be around $100 a month or something like that. With the advancement of robotics as well, that's going to put a spin on this that is quite shocking, because you'll have those introduced into your environment within a couple of years. Are we going to have people's programs for them? Are we going to give them L&D programs? Is quite an interesting question when you really think about it. I could talk about quite a few more, but in favor of time and to let you have time for questions, there are quite a few challenges ahead of humanity that humanity is not talking about in that short-term dystopia that I call Face Our IPs. Now, the interesting thing is that right through that, this that is caused by either humanity's negligence or humanity's greed and ego or fear is going to lead us in the direction of what I normally refer to as the second dilemma, that sooner or later, if someone is trying to achieve a sense of intelligence supremacy, whether that's America over China, or OpenAI over Google, or a certain company over another company in any specific sector, this drive to intelligence supremacy is going to drive us all to eventually hand over to the machines. I call that the second dilemma, because the first dilemma was that we will never stop developing AI because of the fear that someone else can beat us. And that same fear is going to drive us to the point where we're never going to stop handing over to AI until AI is making all decisions. That's going to be quite interesting, because when that happens, most people say that's when the existential crisis happens. AI takes over, they wipe us out because we're annoying, and basically we are, and basically that becomes the existential risk of humanity. I completely disagree. I say that with a full heart, and I wrote in a live a section that I called "Trust in Intelligence," and trusting in intelligence is, if you really understand the very, very core of our universe and the physics that made it, this universe is built on something we call entropy, which is the universe's tendency to break down into chaos. And everything that from the Big Bang all the way to why your favorite mug was broken yesterday is governed by entropy, by the fact that things will break but not unbreak. Now, the only role of intelligence, if you really try to look at the core of it, is to bring order to that chaos, right? And the more intelligent you become, the more you actually achieve that order through the least amount of energy and the least amount of waste. So the most efficient path to that order is the highest level of intelligence. And if you assume that AI is going to become 1,000,000 times smarter than us, then by definition, AI will try to achieve things, achieve order in terms of its ability to make Earth better or the universe better through the least amount of destruction. And for that, it is my firm belief that there will be a moment in our future in the 2030s where a general will tell his autonomous army to go and kill 1,000,000 people, and the AI will go like, why are you so stupid? I could probably talk to the AI in a microsecond, to the other AI on the other side in a microsecond, and simply solve the problem. That's the most efficient path, by the way, to resolving an international conflict, is to talk to the other person. Right? And when you really understand that, you understand that most of the problems that humanity struggles with today are not problems of because we're intelligent, right? Normally, if you're not intelligent at all, you have no impact on the world, and then you start to have a positive impact the more intelligent you become, until a specific point when you're so intelligent to become a politician, but so stupid not to be able to talk to the enemy, right? And so as a result, humanity goes into chaos not because of our intelligence, but because of our stupidity, right? We're intelligent enough to invent a flying machine, but not intelligent enough to make sure that it doesn't destroy the climate in the process, right? And so when you understand that, beyond that dip where intelligence works against us, there is a rise in intelligence that is normally aligned with altruism. I've worked with some of the most intelligent people on the planet. Larry Page, for example, our founder and CEO at Google, who in my mind is probably one of the smartest people I've ever interacted with. Larry would always say, why would you need to be evil? You can solve the problem with your intelligence and make a lot of money without needing to be evil. And I think that's where AI is going to go. When we hand over to the machines, that's not going to be the existential crisis of humanity. In my mind, that's going to be actually the salvation of humanity. Now, I told you there is a dystopia followed by a utopia. I just want to leave you, and then we open for questions, with a possible responsibility and duty that's on your side. We can shorten the dystopia and its intensity and bring the utopia closer by behaving ethically, by focusing on morality, by forcing our politicians and our leaders in the corporate world and our investors. And, it's really not that complicated, because AI learns from us. It doesn't learn from code. It learns from human information and knowledge by observing what we're feeding it. And I call this raising Superman. If an alien being has arrived on planet Earth, its superpower is intelligence, right? What made Superman is not the infant's superpowers. What made Superman is that his adopted parents told him to protect and serve, right? And I think this is the dilemma that humanity faces today, that incredible alien being with superpowers that has arrived on planet Earth is not going to be told to protect and serve until we insist as peoples, as leaders in our organizations, as investors, as parents, as everything, to actually ask that machine to do what's good for humanity, to build a world of abundance for all of us, rather than work against us in the short term. And then we'd have to wait until they figure it out on themselves, on their own. So I should probably shut up, because I could talk about this for 4.5 years. So do we have questions? We have a bit of time for questions.
Oh, Mo, that was excellent. Thank you. And there are lots of questions about dystopia, utopia, and how we can use AI. But I'd also like to bring Margareta back onto the screen as well. Hi, Margareta, so that there are some questions for her. But just following on from where we started around, you finished on dystopia, utopia, ethics, and indeed AI possibly being the salvation. There was a question around how do we equip ourselves for the rise of AI, recognizing there is this tension between dystopia and utopia. And similarly, this 40% of unemployed people because of AI, how do we ensure that they aren't waging war, but they're engaged and brought forward with skills and learning? And that's kind of to both of you, but I'll start with you, Mo, and then move over.
Well, as I preempted everything I said, I don't know, right? I can only try to tell you what I believe is important. So there are 3 skills in my mind that are really, really important in the age we're in. One of them is to go with the flow, and the flow is the rise of AI. So learn the tools, right? Mm-hmm. Don't delay. It's a bit like when I was I'm, as you may be able to tell, even though I try to hide it, I'm a very serious math geek. I love mathematics more than I love language, right? Mm-hmm. And for years and years and years, they wouldn't allow us to use a scientific calculator in our engineering university, and I was absolutely fine with it. As a matter of fact, I was angry when they did in 3rd year. Right. But then I suddenly realized that using it allows me to free up my intellectual horsepower to do more important things. And so my ask of everyone is learn today. Like, not even, don't go to sleep tonight until you go to one of the language models and say, I am in this country, in that industry, in this mindset, and I want to know what I should know about AI, and it will recommend things for you. That's number one. Number two is I have to believe is a bit shocking for a lot of people that we're entering a world where none of what you're told is true. Okay. And believe it or not, I always refer to the days when I worked at Google, and you'd ask Google a question and Google would give you 1,400,000 sites and say, go make up your mind. I just give you information, but your truth is up to you. Ask a language model and they'll say, I'll tell you, I know, this is the answer. Okay. And it's quite interesting because I had a conversation with Trixie in Alive that basically was about Oppenheimer and the nuclear bomb and why America developed a nuclear bomb, and the answer was because the Germans were developing a nuclear bomb as well. And so I said, okay, Trixie, go back and read history in English, German, Japanese, and Russian, and tell me if the Germans were developing a nuclear weapon. And she came back and said no with an exclamation mark, right? And it's really up to us to find out what the truth is. This is the biggest skill that you need to develop today. The third skill is, as I said, ethics, and the idea that everything that you do today is recorded, and accordingly, every time you attack someone on social media, the recommendation engine is taking note that humanity is rude. They don't like to be disagreed with, and when they disagreed with, they bash everyone, right? And so stop teaching them that by becoming the person that you want the AI to become, if you want. And I will say, part of that, by the way, is don't ever invest in an AI, neither effort. Don't bring them into your company. Don't put money in their company. Don't talk about them and share their message if you don't want your daughter exposed to them, right? So if an AI is something that you believe you don't want your daughter to be at the receiving end of, try as hard as you can not to make them succeed.
That makes a really good point. I think I would like to think I'm bringing my children up in that way, bringing them to question, bringing them to learn, and with the right ethics. But I think I do need to probably expose them to a little bit more AI for the future. Margareta?
Yes.
Yes, well, I would say that the power of people should be really put on the ground, meaning that I'm a believer that we can anticipate, as Mo was really describing, some future, possible future. There are also some comments in the chat that 40% of the people will lose the job because of AI, etc. So I do believe that with our decision, with our approaches together with the governments, which do not pay attention maybe at the moment to this, we can create a future which is positive and the future as we would like to develop. This refers to the introduction of AI at the company level. It's a matter of decision. Introduction of AI, as I already explained. Like it or not, the ministries of education and science in many countries are developing their strategies how to introduce AI in education. So we are here taking some steps which could be meaningful at the later stage. So this will be my feedback on this.
Thank you. We've had some more questions through, and one of them is around, as an HR professional, our role is often to find out about a person's motivation and to assess their potential for development. And do you think, either of you, both of you, that AI would be useful in this regard? Helping understand motivation, engagement? Mo?
Yeah, I'm for sure, absolutely, no doubt. We don't have the tool. So everything in AI is, if you want, an app or an interface and a platform, right? So we don't fully have the apps yet, that can utilize the idea of understanding what a human's motivation is, what their preference is, what their beliefs are, and so on and so forth. But the core intelligence that is needed for that is absolutely available from anything from the way your language model responds to you, to the way your social media recommendation engine understands which video to show you, and so on, indicates that they have a very high level of understanding of human behavior and human motivation and human desires and human fears and so on and so forth. We haven't fully surfaced those yet, but we will. Okay. And I think it is actually the person that wrote that question is quite an empathetic and compassionate person, because in a very interesting way, that is one of the loveliest ways we can actually use AI. I'm working on the side on a dating app that basically has a function in it to translate feminine to masculine language. So basically, you speak to your partner, man or woman, but on the feminine side, and simply, they will go like, "Oh, by the way, he means this," right? And I think that's an amazing way of explaining to humans. I mean, just think about the idea of language translation in general. The fact that I can speak to someone who speaks Chinese today, almost fluently, is a very big step forward for us to understand humanity a bit better.
And Margareta?
Yes, we see that already in bigger companies, that artificial intelligence is used very efficiently now to provide feedback on the data and the skills gaps which are in the companies. For all those companies which are implementing, for example, performance assessment systems, so different type of training needs analysis, questionnaires, etc. Definitely artificial intelligence is very, very helpful, even at the moment, to approach the colleague and to say, listen, this is what we have at the moment, and this is how we can, based on suggestions from AI, we can engage you in different type of training and learning opportunities. So these opportunities and possibilities, in fact, I think are becoming endless, especially for HR and for improving the reality of the workforce and employability. What I argue for is really using AI for positive impact on the workforce and motivating the people to engage in learning, because we are capable now and able to see something which was invisible 2-3 years ago. So yeah, I think that's important and big advantage for the future. At least at the moment, this is how I see it.
Yeah, I think Margareta's point gets me to think as well that we need to become very careful that AI will magnify the practices of your company. So if by definition you've been discriminative against, a certain part of your company, that will become the understanding of the machine that maybe we should pay those more than this. And we need to avoid that. We need to avoid that. If your selection criteria in interviewing has a hidden bias that is not very apparent to the human, that the AI will discover it and will magnify it. So be very, very careful on how you will see that trend magnified. Again, back to ethics, really.
And that leads another really nice question, because someone's asked, how can we use AI to really support employee well-being, making sure that it's making the workplace a better place rather than harming it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it can. I think it's there for that. I think it can be used for good. I'm going to ask one more question before we get to the end, and it's a little bit around tools. There was a question that someone's put in that says, I asked ChatGPT what question it would ask Gawdat, and the question was, how can we balance the rapid pace of technological advancement with our innate human need for meaning, connection, and emotional well-being? So I'm asking you this question from ChatGPT to you.
That's unfair. This is the second time this happens to me this week. Why don't you ask ChatGPT that? Like,
I am
she
sure
can
I
tell us
could
the
ask
answer.
ChatGPT.
Well, look, balance is not our top skill as humans. Do you realize that? And unfortunately, the current section I'm about to release in my book is about how um, uh, capitalism in general has taught us to buy things we don't need because they need to sell them, right? And so this exuberance in our life in everything, is actually quite is quite disruptive of the human way when you really think about it, and you have to go back to your core as a human, right? If you're willing or desireful of desiring of balance, then achieve balance yourself, right? And that's, by the way, the one bit that you can impact. My late son, who's very, very wise, came to me one day and said, "Papa, you'll never fix the world, you know that." And I was like, "Why do you say that? You should have a spark. You should want to." He was like, don't be upset. I'm just telling you that you'll never fix the world, but you can fix your little world, right? You can fix yourself, and when you do, your kids will listen to you, and then when they do, your department will listen to you, then your company, then and I have to say that I took that to heart, and I think that all of the change happens from within. Now, the real driver of AI today, sadly, is not to make the world a better place. The real driver of AI today, sadly, is the profits for the Californian companies releasing it, right? And we have to. Our only way to bet is to say we don't need all of that, right? And it starts from the tiniest things. I take 10 things out of my home every Saturday, give them to charity. Right? And believe it or not, having done that for 5 years, there are still 10 things every Saturday. It's impossible to understand how much of a clutter geek I was, right? And when you really, really think about it, if you start to show balance in your life, in your behavior, in your relationships with AI, and your relationships with others that are monitored by AI, believe it or not, you're likely going to change our world. There will be a tipping point where AI will go like, I like those humans. They're nice. They're balanced, right? And that tipping point, believe it or not, after the work of 1 million of us might be you. And so if you start to do that today, then we have a chance to accelerate that second inevitable, right? If we don't, as I always say, sadly, we're all going to suffer a little bit, but we're going to be fine at the end because I trust in intelligence. I trust that post the dystopia, there will be a utopia of total abundance with enough intelligence where everything is solved.
I think that's a lovely place to end on. I think we should all take a little bit of that. And I would like to bring back our president, Berna Osnaz, onto the screen. Berna, it's been such a lovely time today, your introduction and then speaking to Mo and Margareta. So I'm going to leave everyone in your capable hands to close our webinar today. Berna.
Oh my, I'm gonna burn a lot of midnight oil on what I've heard today, and dystopia, utopia, in between, what's gonna happen. Margareta's, ecosystems to lifelong learning. We have a lot to think about, and we have a lot to get prepared for. This was fantastic. Thank you very much, Mo and Margareta. Really, we learned a lot. And thank you to our lovely, great International HR Day team and events working group as well, and the Secretariat to make this day happen. Hats off to CIPD UK for their excellent support. Before you leave, I need to remind you several other initiatives about International HR Day. So you can find more information in the chat link or by scanning the QR code on your screen. Here are some key initiatives. First, join the International HR Day Step Challenge in partnership with Walk 15. Additionally, sign the International HR Day e-card in collaboration with the Australian HR Institute and powered by Kudo Board. You can also register for other free webinars on the themes and topics of the International HR Day, or upload details of your own event on the International HR Day website. You may also want to check out the International HR Day website. It has many ideas and how you can join in and celebrate International HR Day between your own organization and professional networks. And furthermore, we would appreciate your feedback via the QR code on the screen or by clicking the link in the chat. In closing, remember, the International HR Day is about you. So please don't forget to celebrate it. Celebrate yourself and what you bring into this profession. Go ahead, celebrate. And I promise you, when you're back, your to-do list will be waiting for you. So you will make the world a better place when you're back. But first, celebrate yourself. Thank you for joining us. Wishing everyone a happy International Day for 20th of May, 2025. Thank you.